France, Austria, and now Switzerland. This is an extremely difficult time for Europe. In the latest incident, a Swiss woman attacked another woman with a knife and grabbed another by the throat at a departmental store. This happened in the southern Swiss city of Lugano and is now being seen as a suspected terror attack. The attacker has been identified as a 28-year-old woman. She was pulled away by a couple at the scene before being arrested. The Swiss police is saying that the suspect was apparently known to the authorities from an investigation into quote-unquote jihadist terrorism in 2017. According to them, the woman wanted to travel to Syria that very same year but was stopped at the Turkish-Syrian border. Norman Gobi, the leader of the Sino canton, where Lugano is situated, has said that his government is determined to defend the safety of its citizens. He said, and I'm quoting, "Switzerland is a country of peace, but being peaceful does not mean being helpless." Sebastian Kurz, the Chancellor of Austria, also has extended his support to the victims. He said, and I'm quoting, "We stand with Switzerland in these difficult hours. We will give a joint response to Islamist terrorism in Europe and defend our values." Remember, Switzerland has remained neutral in the ongoing clash between Europe and the Islamic world, but it has suffered due to extremism in recent months. In September, a fatal stabbing of a Portuguese man in the town of Morges alarmed the Swiss authorities. A possible terrorist motive for the crime is still being investigated. And the very same month, another man described as a leading Islamist militant was sentenced to 50 months in prison for ties with the Islamic State. He was dubbed as the Emir of Winterthur, somebody who was in touch with several convicted IS recruiters across Europe. Speaking of Europe, I'm sure you are aware of how the entire continent is on high alert. Due to the rising acts of terror, several European nations have suffered due to terrorism in recent months. In France, a total of 8 major terror-related incidents have taken place in the last 10 months. They range from the ramming of cars to the stabbing and shooting of policemen to the beheading of a teacher and a churchgoer. The French government is cracking down on individuals who may have extremist tendencies but is facing a backlash as well for doing so. So is Austria. On the 3rd of November, a group of attackers opened fire at civilians at 6 different locations in Vienna. 5 people were killed, several others were injured. The Austrian government has been fierce in its response. The Austrian Chancellor has vowed to root out the radicals. Addressing the nation earlier this month, he said the attacks reflected hatred for their way of life. You have to listen to this.
In the meantime, it has been confirmed that yesterday's attack was clearly an Islamist terrorist attack. It was an attack of hatred. Hatred for our basic values, hatred for our way of life, hatred for our democracy, where all people are equal in rights and dignity.
Thousands of miles away in Australia, some bold decisions are being taken to put an end to the menace. The Australian government has cancelled the citizenship of an Algerian-born Muslim cleric who was convicted of leading a terrorist cell that planned to bomb a football match in Melbourne. The case dates back to 2005. The man goes by the name of Abdul Nasir Benbrika. He is now the first person to be stripped of his citizenship while still in Australia. I'll leave you with this strongly worded statement by the Australian Minister for Home Affairs.
In this instance, he spoke about thousands of Australians being killed, and that's what he advocated at the time. He was convicted, obviously, in relation to those matters, and it doesn't matter who it is. If it's a person that's posing a significant terrorist threat to our country, then we will do whatever is possible within Australian law to protect Australians, and that remains our priority. And in relation to Benbrika, we're taking action in the court at the moment that we believe will give us the best opportunity to keep Australians safe.